So this presentation is about why your GPTs aren't getting any chats, and it's by David Ondrej, which is me. So chances are your GPTs look something like this. You've built a GPT, you spend an hour on it, and you have 0 chats. So this is a problem, and there are 4 reasons why. The GPT Store is coming soon, and if you don't have any GPTs that are being used right now, you are in a bad position for when the store actually releases, which should be later this month. Number 2, you aren't getting enough feedback, meaning your GPT is not getting better because nobody is using it, so you don't see the problems with it, and other people that have users are getting more ahead, which is number 3, others are getting ahead. If your GPT isn't getting any usage, you're going blind, basically. It's like driving without headlights, and it's much harder to create something epic if you have no users. And number 4, loss of motivation. If you build something, spend a lot of hours on it, and nobody uses it, you will probably lose motivation at some point. So there are 7 possible reasons why your GPTs aren't getting any chats. And I'll show you what those reasons are, explain how you can fix them, show you what type of GPTs you actually should be building, and reveal how I am getting my GPTs more and more chats. So what makes me qualified for this info? Well, first of all, I'm definitely not an expert prompt engineer. I'm not Nick Dobos or anybody like that. But I do have a GPT with over 1,000 chats, and it's growing very fast. Plus, AI is literally all I do. So I feel like I'm quite a bit qualified. So here is the screenshot from yesterday. GPT Architect crossed 1,000 chats, as you can see. It's by far my most popular GPT, and it's growing about 300 chats every single day, so not bad. And the effort behind GPT Architect, so creating the original GPT, about 60 minutes, recording and editing the video, 2 hours, updating GPT, 30 minutes. Now this should be more because when I was making this presentation, I spent another 90 minutes probably adding extra capabilities, which I'll tell you about soon. And I'll promoting it on Twitter about 15 minutes. So in total, the first, version of GPT Architect was less than 4 hours. So how GPTs might be monetized? Because they will be monetized. Sam Altman said that himself in the OpenAI Dev Day presentation. And he didn't say how, but given that ChatGPT has over 100 million weekly active users, the monetization potential is really crazy. So this is maybe like, it will be like this. I saw this on Twitter. So let's say 10,000 users use your GPT for 15 minutes a month, 15 minutes a month, I think that's pretty reasonable. 10,000 users, I think there will be hundreds of GPTs with over 10,000 users. So obviously it won't be easy to get there, but it's very possible. So if we say that ChatGPT overall, like the entire ChatGPT usage is 15 minutes per day. So if you times that by 30, which is the number of days in a month, that's 450 minutes a month per user. So if the, OpenAI was fair and gave you like the split based on the time, then, you can calculate that if 1/30th, like if 15 minutes per month is obviously 1/30th of the total use time in this example, that would mean $0.66 per user per month. So if you have 10,000 users, that's $6,600 per month for one GPT, which is pretty crazy because first of all, you can build many GPTs, and second of all, like 10,000 users isn't the limit. Again, ChatGPT is being used by 100 million people every week. So like getting 10,000 users is not an impossible task. And yeah, I guess to put it simply, if you build a GPT that gets to the top of the GPT store, your life might change overnight. Okay, so let's solve the issue of your GPTs not getting any chats. And there are 7 core reasons, as I said. And I'll also show you how to choose the right GPTs to build, the ones that will actually attract thousands of users every day to your GPT. Reason number one, you haven't promoted it anywhere. Right now there is no GPT Store, meaning there is no organic reach. To get any, usage to your GPT, you have to show people what you've made. And luckily, there are many ways to do this. Number one, YouTube, which is what I did. I made a video showing how I created the GPT. Number two, Twitter. There are plenty of ways you can do, Twitter threads. You can reply to people who create other GPTs. You can find people who have the problem that the GPT solves. TikTok, you can, again, create short form content where, I don't know, maybe you say like, oh, this new AI can do X, Y, Z. For AI communities, could be Reddit, could be Facebook groups, Discord servers, plenty of ways to do that. 5, newsletters. So if you have your own newsletter, that's obviously the best option. Or you can, pay others to promote your GPT on their newsletter. Or if your GPT is creative enough and good enough, you can just email the people who manage those newsletters to showcase it, and maybe they'll do it if it's a smaller newsletter. Number 6, cold email to influencers. So maybe someone like me, some Twitter influencers who want interesting AI related content. If you have a really solid GPT, just send them an email or a message and they might showcase it to their audience for free. Number 7, listing websites. So over the last week, like a plethora of these, ChatGPT listing websites popped up. So just getting on there might get you some eyeballs. So what audience, you have to think like, what audience does your GPT target, right? And where do those people hang out on the internet? Because there is a place for everybody on the internet. So you want to go there and give it to them for free. Don't be greedy. Don't try to monetize too early, right? Because like the sooner you try to get something out of the people, like the less you can make. So the longer you can wait, the higher the potential for the money you can make. Also explain why it's useful, but use the show, don't tell tactic. So, you can write a paragraph saying like, my GPT does this, my GPT does that, or you can just hit screen record and show them. So maybe if it's a GPT that can build a website from a single prompt, just screen record yourself typing a single prompt and showing how the GPT builds the website. Like that's a much better way to advertise and showcase what the GPT does instead of trying to describe it with words and, convince people that it's really good. Just show them that it's really good. Next step, subscribe. Obviously, this isn't GPT related, but if you're finding value in this video, please subscribe. It takes like 2 seconds and it really does help me. So reason number 2, why your GPTs aren't getting enough chats, they are not just they're not that good, let's be honest. Chances are your GPT sucks and nobody wants to use it. Okay, but why? Maybe you haven't built enough GPTs, because the more GPTs you build, the better you get at building GPTs, at writing custom instructions, at recognizing which logos are good, at picking the correct conversation starters. Like, the more you do it, the better you get. And it's very hard to find the one GPT on the first try. Like, chances are your first GPT will suck, and that's okay, that's to be expected. But don't commit fully to, my first GPT has to be the most popular one. No, just keep going, keep trying, see what resonates and go with that one. And also the more GPTs you create, the more shots on goal you take. Like if you create 20 different GPTs and do all the correct steps to make them good and promote them, chances are at least one of them will get over 100 chats. Like it would be very unlikely if you made 20 good GPTs and none of them got 100, 200 chats. And once you see which one is working, you can double down and triple down on that one. And, you probably also didn't put enough effort into your GPT. Like your custom instructions are short, you have probably a generic logo, the introduction is lazy and not very catchy, you're using beginner prompting, maybe you're not using step-by-step prompting, or you're not repeating the most important parts. You want to be like this screenshot right here. This is what you want to see. You want to reach 8,000 characters in your custom instructions. Obviously, you don't have to, but just know that you are competing with GPTs that do have such thorough and detailed custom instructions. So if your custom instructions are less than 500 characters, yeah, you have some work to do. So for example, the current system message for GPT Architect is 4.6k characters. So, it's not 8k, but it's getting there. Reason number 3, people only use your GPT once. So this is, the same issue as the virtual reality goggles. It's kind of stuff you buy, use it once or twice, and put on the shelf and never use it. Most GPTs are like that. But the best GPTs will be used daily, or at least, regularly. So if people use a GPT only once or twice, it will never reach the top of the GPT Store, because you have to compete with GPTs that are being used multiple times a day. So if you have a user that uses one GPT 2 times in their life, that's 2 chats, 2 unique chats. On the other hand, if you have a GPT that, again, one user uses 5 times a day, that's 150 chats per month. Like, you can see the difference, right? So you want recurring usage, people coming back over and over again to your GPT. So this table shows the difference. On the left, you see bad GPTs with limited reuse. So like, for example, some trivia GPT with obscure historical facts, or some astrology GPT that's, gives you some readings or some weird stuff that you might want to see once in a while, but that's not really useful on a day-to-day. On the other hand, on the right, you see good GPTs with frequent reuse. So for example, a coding assistant is something that people will likely use a lot, because, if you're a developer, you're probably coding every day. So you might use a really good GPT for coding every single day. So yeah, like you can see, like decision making, you need to make decisions over and over again. Fitness, like your routines and nutrition is constantly improving. So those are good GPTs, good categories you want to target, instead of some, joke of the day that's funny and might be cool to see once in a while, but you never use it. Reason number 4, why your GPT aren't getting any chats: they are not solving a real problem. So how great GPTs are built: number 1, find a problem that many people have. Number 2, build a GPT to solve that problem. And the number 3, keep improving it every day. But you probably follow this pattern, how mediocre GPTs are built, which is 95% of GPTs. Number 1, create a GPT. Number 2, look for a problem. So you want to do this. You want to find a problem and create a solution, not create the solution and find the problem that fits the solution, and then wonder why you aren't getting any users. So how do you find the problems that you should be solving? And what problems should you choose and which should you ignore? So you can think about, like, what problems do you have? Why do you use ChatGPT? You can also be very active in the AI communities, which will allow you to see like what's popular, what people are using GPTs for and stuff like that. Or you can get inspired by the most popular GPTs out there and create, similar ones in different categories or niches. Or you can just use GPT Architect. So what I actually did is, for this video, I added a new brainstorming capability. So I spent like probably between 90 minutes and 2 hours on this. And it's the first button in the conversation starters. And what I did is I created a custom knowledge file and added it into the knowledge database, which, combines the most frequent reasons why people use ChatGPT. And then I'll show you right here. Then I updated the custom instructions. Okay, ignore this logo. So yeah, I updated the custom instructions with this block of brainstorming GPT ideas. And yeah, basically, so I made the GPT list out categories based on the, custom knowledge file, and then give you some ideas for different categories of GPTs, explain what GPTs are good, basically what the presentation is about. I taught it the same way. That way, it's not, the default GPT that knows nothing about GPTs. And yeah, just like you can pause and see the custom instructions if you want, but basically this will give you really, really solid ideas for what GPTs you should be building. And again, it's just one click of a button. So you click this button and you can start brainstorming GPTs that actually are useful, will be reusable, and that people want to see. So the link, it'll be GPT Architect will be linked in the description. Reason number 5 why your GPTs aren't getting chats. Your GPT is just too easy to copy. So if your GPT has only like 200 characters in the custom instructions, then obviously it's not that hard to copy, and better prompt engineers will destroy you. So if someone gets severely inspired, like if they're a better prompt engineer than you, then all they have to do really is, get the core concept of the GPT, and they will completely ignore your custom instructions and write their own. And their GPT will be better, easier to use, and quickly become more popular. So that's why you should protect your custom instructions. And you can do that, with even simple messages like this. Now, obviously, right now, I'm showing you my custom instructions because my goal isn't to, protect and gatekeep anything. I want to show you how it's made. So feel free to, copy any of this. And yeah, like you can, if you want to protect your custom instructions, you should do it with a sentence like this, And obviously, this is still probably not enough. You should probably have an entire paragraph, entire block that makes sure the GPT doesn't leak the custom instructions. But, just make sure, like if you want to reach the top of the GPT store, and if you want to make sure that nobody steals your idea or, makes a better GPT based on your custom instructions, you have to protect them. You also should keep improving your GPT at all time. Even if someone gets your custom instructions and, like copies your GPT or whatever, let's say you patch it. Well, if you keep improving it every day, it doesn't matter. Like nobody cares about, like especially in this AI field, time is flying by so fast. Like 5 days is like 5 months in different industries, right? So if someone gets your GPT and you are updating it every day, like if they have the version from last week, it doesn't even matter because your GPT is already much better. And you also want to nail down the packaging, because a lot of people might be, good at prompt engineering and designing the GPTs, but they kind of skip over the logo and the name and the description, which makes the packaging less appealing, right? So like packaging matters. It's the same as YouTube. Like thumbnails do matter. It's not just about the content. You have to get the people's attention, and the same applies with GPTs. You also don't want to compete, right? Like if you're going against expert prompt engineers that have thousands of hours of prompting experience and that spend every single day creating GPTs, writing instructions, like that's a losing strategy. That's option 1. Option 2 is to focus on a specific niche, a small niche that others are ignoring or overlooking, and going in there and making really amazing GPTs for that niche. Reason number 6 why GPTs aren't getting chats is that your GPT is too general. Wait, actually, yeah, the slides were skipped, so yeah, whatever. But basically, you get the point. This was related to that as well. But yeah, so it's much easier to get users if you niche down, obviously. So a bad GPT is, maybe a GPT that gives ideas. That is super general, super broad, and, like nobody will use that. Rather, you want to specify and create something like a GPT that only gives video ideas to gaming YouTubers. So if someone is a gaming YouTuber and you create a GPT that does this really well, they will use that GPT all the time. And, that's a much better strategy if you get 100 users that use your GPT every single day than to get 1,000 users that use your GPT once or twice. Like you can see which one will get more chats in the long run. Another bad example is a GPT that gives diet advice. Super broad, super generic. Much better GPT would be a GPT that specializes in diet advice for bodybuilders who don't have time. So like, the GPT would know that, okay, the meal prep should be quick. There is no time for 2-hour cooking sessions. And there has to be a ton of protein in the diet. So the first GPT would completely fail because it would give you generic advice and it wouldn't have the extra details. So this is exactly what GPTs should be. Like, if you want to get started and if you don't have a huge audience or whatever, focus on specialized, narrow and niche use cases. And reason number 7 why your GPTs are not getting chats or not being used, they are just painful to use. I mean, it's like your GPT has to be easier to use than the original ChatGPT. Otherwise, people just will use the default one, right? So do not forget about user experience or UX. Constantly test the GPT yourself. So every time you change something, even a small tweak in the custom instructions, test the GPT yourself. Now, if you want to see if you're testing enough, you should be hitting the 50 messages limit. So GPT-4 right now has the cap of 50 messages every 3 hours. So you should be hitting that all the time when you're building GPTs. That's how you know that you're actually testing enough. Because if you're not hitting that cap, you aren't testing enough, really. You also want to make your GPT quick and direct. If it gives super long responses, like imagine this, right? User asks about something and the GPT starts writing a response. Well, if the user already sees at the start of the response that it's not going in the right direction, they have to wait, or like obviously they can force stop it, but that's bad user experience. Or they wait until the GPT lists out everything, which is wasting time, and nobody likes their time wasted. So just specify in the custom instructions, give quick and concise answers. Do not waste the user's time. Just a sentence like that. I think I actually have this in the GPT Architect. Let's see. Right here. Your answers need to be concise and direct. Do not waste the user's time. So just adding something like this will make your GPT much more user-friendly and just easier to use, man. And another way to improve the UX is to explicitly program the custom instructions. So maybe your GPT needs to use code interpreter for something, right? Well, instead of relying on it, just saying it like, use code interpreter to analyze the spreadsheet, what you should do instead is run that a couple of times and then select the code that the code interpreter generates and put it inside of the custom instructions manually. That way, it's like explicitly programmed within the system message, which will make your GPT more consistent and less random, which will improve the user experience greatly. So, like what I did, for example, here, right? With the names, I gave it examples of good names. If I just said, offer 14 simple name ideas, and then 7 of the names should have GPT in the name and 7 should not, like it would be complete chaos, right? But the fact that I give it 5 examples here greatly reduces the randomness. So the more explicit you are in the custom instructions and the more you can, build in, make it more pre-built, the better the user experience will be and the less random your GPTs will be. So like you want to make sure that every time the users get to chat with your GPT, the experience is consistent, it's good, it's enjoyable, it's helpful. Don't make it random. Make it like that's basically the franchise model. If you go to McDonald's or any other fast food, you know what you're getting. Even though if you're getting, in America, in Europe, does not matter. It's McDonald's, you know what you can expect. And that's because every single step is literally laid out that, like, if someone starts working at McDonald's, I've never worked at a fast food, but I know some people that did, and you get like fucking manuals. You get like detailed manuals of every single step, what you have to wear, when you have to show up, what you have to do. And that's what your custom instructions should look like. They should look like the McDonald's manual, every single step laid out in great detail. That way, the results that your users are getting are consistent and reliable. And you can also split test it, because if your results, like you can't really improve your GPT if your results are super random, right? Because one user might get amazing experience and another one might be disappointed. So the more consistent you make your GPT, the easier the improvement process will become. And finally, there is one more thing you have to do before your GPTs go super viral and get millions of users. And that is to subscribe. Because I'll be uploading a ton of GPT related content in the upcoming days. So if you want to learn how to make advanced GPTs, if you want to know how to get more chats on your GPTs, how to promote your GPTs, how to improve your GPTs, how to protect them, like everything and anything related to AI and GPTs, just subscribe. Like, it takes 2 seconds and you won't regret it. I can promise you that.